questions.
We'll now proceed to questions, and I'd like to begin with you, Mr. Schuler, because I want to get this fact pattern on the record. You've been in the firearms business for 46 years, right?
Yes.
And during most of that time, you actually viewed the ATF as a helpful partner. Is that your testimony?
Correct.
And the reason is because during most of the decades in which you've been involved in this business, the ATF wanted you to be successful in complying with regulations, right?
Seems so, correct.
And you identified in correspondence to me that the adoption of the ATF's zero tolerance policy is what really changed them from being an entity wanting you to be lawful and in compliance to an entity that just wanted to catch you in some technical violation of the law, right?
Exactly.
And the violation of the law they caught you in wasn't even a mistake of your own doing in this case, was it?
No.
So help people understand how the FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, is involved in a gun transaction.
Well, they're they're charged with doing the background check themselves. So we online or on the phone called the background check into them.
And the reason that they do the background check is because there's a national system by which they can search and see if someone would not be eligible to receive a firearm because of their conduct in Florida or in another jurisdiction, right?
Correct, and we don't have any latitude to use anybody else but FDLE.
And yeah, so you can't go choose another vendor. You're
No.
forced to go to use FDLE.
Correct.
And FDLE, I've seen no evidence that they've been malicious in your matter, but they are not the first perfect government entity that makes no mistakes, right?
That's correct.
And in the matter that resulted in your revocation, it was the FDLE's mistake on their own search that resulted in you getting improper information, right?
Correct.
And when when ATF found that mistake, did they punish FDLE for it?
No.
Did they withhold any money to the state of Florida?
No.
No, they put you out of business.
Correct.
Mr. Smith, you're a high volume dealer. You're an employer in our community. And as Mr. Schuler said, FFLs often are the way in which Americans exercise their Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment are just words on a paper if you can't vindicate those rights with the utilization of a firearm. And so I wanted to get a sense from you as you go through these multi-month audits that seem to be more about retribution and bad faith than a sincere effort to get you to comply with the law. What do you tell your customers about what you're going through and the potential impact on them?
So first off, the customers get very nervous because they see ATF agents walking around your store, and so it kind of drives your customers off a little bit anyway. We tell their customers that they're just in there for an audit, and we do everything the right way. But it makes them very nervous when they're in there because they've seen how lackadaisical the ATF is with our rights in the past. And I will say that I also had a approval changed to a non-approval like Mr. Schuler did, and we luckily had evidence that we had the approval done, and we had seen it happen 3 other times before, so we took steps. We're actually screenshotting every single approval now when they come through, and we're storing that so we don't have to have the same issue that Mr. Schuler has had.
Mr. Smith, do you realize how ridiculous it sounds that you're having to audit the government while the government is asserting that they are auditing you?
Yes, sir. Yes, I do.
I also wanted to ask you about the impact on your workforce. How many people do you employ at your business?
We currently employ 13.
And what is we live in a time now where no matter what business you're in, workforce challenges are real.
Yes.
And so I wanted to get your testimony on the record about how your workforce is impacted by this very aggressive and improper action by the ATF.
So it makes them very nervous about their job security. The whole 3 months that the ATF was in there, my guys were concerned that we're going to lose our license, that these guys are going to lose their employment. This is their livelihood. Some of my guys have been with me from the very beginning, 6-7 years, and this is what they've put their life into. the entire time they were there, they were scared that they were going to lose their job over a clerical error. And to this day, they're still very concerned. The ATF did tell us they would be back in 1 year. They warned us that they will be back into our store in 1 year for another audit. And so my guys remain nervous the entire time, and it's hard to retain employees when they know that at any time the government can come put you out of business.
Compliance costs with this audit. Do you feel comfortable sharing, in any terms, even percentage-wise or anything, what it has cost you to, these aren't costs that are advertising for your business. They're not costs that are helping you get better product. It's just overhead you have to carry, and I want to be able to bring back to my colleagues in the Congress how that affects a small business.
Between legal fees, between compliance costs, between we now have an outside auditor coming in every 3 months that we're having to pay. We have also put in system implementations that are costing us $1,000 a month. We're in at about $60,000 since the ATF left in November to make sure that we kept our license.
So you've hired your own auditor to
Yes.
pre-audit you to get ready for the ATF audit, and then you're going to have to audit the ATF and the FDLE with your own screenshots.
Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Green, you're recognized for questions.
I would just like to add in there